Welcome everybody to this class on Introduction to Tea Preparation. This class is meant to accompany the tea pack we have available on our website, which includes the teas I'll be talking about today. Each of them specifically chosen to talk about preparation and teach you. So the first thing I want to explain is that tea preparation is really about the alchemy of various factors. That when you as you set one factor, the rest will have to be adjusted in place. So basically, with the factors we have are the amount of tea we put, the amount of water we put, the amount of time we leave it, and the temperature of the water we're putting. So depending on these factors, the other ones kind of fall in place. And so there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information to take into account and to practice and improve at. That said, I think it's really important to talk about a very simple brewing method to begin with, so you don't get lost in all of this knowledge and thought processing, and tea doesn't become tedious. Bowl tea is a very simple brewing. It's very zen, and it's something that myself practice multiple times a week. It's very important. I find it actually to be life-changing to begin my day or to end my tea with bowl tea. And in bowl tea, all you have to consider is what tea am I putting, and meaning that there's some teas that are more apt for this type of brewing. Basically, you want whole leaf, bigger leaves. And in this case, the tea that I included in your pack is this GABA Oolong. Oolong balls are perfect for bowl tea because they open and the leaf's not broken, and when they infuse, they fall down to the bottom of the bowl. And so this type of brewing method, we just consider that to put very little leaf. You could put less than that, and to add water according to the type of tea it is, which we'll discuss later as we talk about the tea categories, the generalities with that. And so then we just raise the bowl, bring it close to our heart, and feel the warmth. And it's a very meditative, contemplative, relaxing way to drink tea. The aromas come up, and the visual aspect of just watching the leaves unfurl, and it's very comforting. It's a great way to start your day or to end your day, and a way to practice mindfulness, and it's great to not just practice the tea brewing that we're going to be talking about now. So in tea preparation, basically, I'd say there are 8 steps that we want to consider. The first one is perhaps the most important, and that is to choose the tea for the occasion and the teaware. I put that all in one step because the tea and the teaware are often related. So when we choose the tea, we want to choose something that's appropriate for the time of day or the season or how we feel or our guests, or all the factors that we have to consider. Who are we making tea for? And a very important question is, how much time do I have? So tea, you might find this to be a novelty, but quality tea is meant to be re-steeped many times. And we call this patience. We call the ability for tea, if a tea can handle many steepings, we say it's very patient. This is really just talking about us. Are we patient enough to sit with a tea and experience its arc as the arc of all the steepings it can handle? And will we take it all the way to the end, where it's just like nice mineral water? Not that that's necessary every time, but we have to understand there is an arc, and the more you practice doing more and more steepings, the more you'll find that this arc gets longer and longer because you appreciate more and more subtleties. So how much time do we have? Because depending on the time, you might eliminate some teas. Yeah, if you know that there's a tea that you have that's very special, and you only have whatever 30 minutes, that wouldn't be the tea to choose. Or if you did, you might just choose another brewing method with it, like just a few leaves, very few leaves, and a long steeping. So once we choose the tea for the setting, then and how many people we are, and we combine the how many people we are with the teaware. So do we want a bigger teapot, a smaller teapot? Understand that first of all, smaller teapots are the norm in Asia, and for the reason that I said, a quality tea handles many steepings. So if you have a 150 milliliter teapot and you make 10 steepings, you've consumed 1.5 liters of tea. It's quite a lot of liquid. It's enough. It's more than enough. It's enough for 3 people. It's enough for more than 3 people. If you have a 500 milliliter teapot and you do 10 steepings, you would have drunk 5 liters of water, which might be fine if you're a bigger group, but for the most part, it's too much, right? So the concept of the teapot and the size of the teapot is important. Most Western teapots are quite big. That comes from a different time, different teas that were brewed. English style tea is broken leaf. It infuses quickly. It's not really meant to infuse more times. The second steeping will always be inferior to the first, and that is not what we find in traditional Asian tea. There's an arc. It's not, the first one is not the best. So a big teapot like this would be good for herbal tea, or to make an English style tea, a big amount one time, and then have a bigger amount for whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But understand that even in a small teapot like this can serve tea to 5 or 6 people for hours. So if you're gonna invest in a teapot, I do recommend you go smaller. That's the first thing. So when we sell tea, we always include some parameters. We put some steeping times on the bag for the first 3 steepings. That's not to say there's only 3 steepings. That's just to give you an idea of where to begin. It's not dogma. You can change those steeping times, but we recommend that you begin with those and see, is it to your taste? So just have a little bit of tea. So on the bag, it'll say the steeping times for these first three steepings and the temperature of the water that we recommend, but it doesn't really say how many grams or how many milliliters or what kind of teapot to use. To give you a general idea, when our steeping times that we put, we're considering that you're probably brewing in about 150 milliliter teapot or shibori dashi, like that. And so about 150 milliliters and about 3 to 4 grams of tea. Yeah, this is a general thing. Now, if you like your tea lighter, you might put less, or for certain tea, you might want to put less. If you like your tea stronger, you put more. But that's the basic parameters where I want you to begin to try the tea, and then you do the tea. Now, that's it in this kind of brewing method those times, yeah? 150 milliliters, 3 or 4 leaves. There are other brewing methods which we will discuss, and like Fu Brewing, we'll discuss later on when we speak about Oolong Tea. So now we've chosen the teapot, basically depending on the type of tea, and if we destined a special teapot for that type of tea, and the brewing method all together, yeah, and the size of our gathering and how much time we have. Yeah, so we never really want to be throwing away tea or having put too much tea and we didn't really do all the steepings it handles. The next point is to measure the amount of tea necessary. So like I said, in a shibori dashi like this, I would put about 3 to 4 grams. In Kung Fu tea, I would put about 6 grams. And and if I were to make a Western style tea in a 500 milliliter teapot, I probably would also put about 6 grams. So that's the second step. Third step is to preheat your teaware. So that's important. You just want to put some hot water in your teapot, put hot water in your cups, and take out the hot water. Basically, you just want to put the hot water in there for a while, let it sit, and warm the cup. This prepares the teaware and the tea for the first steeping. With a warm, cozy cup, the tea leaf, as soon as it gets put in there, will begin to bring out the aroma, and it makes for better tea preparation, in addition to slowing you down before you actually begin brewing. The next step, so while is to make sure you have the water at the right temperature, depending on the type of tea, which is something we'll discuss after when we talk about the tea categories. Next step would be to empty, or to pour the water, well, to empty the preheated cups and pour the water into the teapot. And then you just leave it the time you need. And I think I just skipped over this step. You have to put the leaves in. Obviously, you put the leaves in now they're warm. So you empty the teacups, you put the leaves in, they're nice and warm. Then you put the water, and then you leave it for the time that's necessary. Which, as I said, you should begin with the steeping times that a vendor has recommended you, and then follow your taste from there. And the last step is to then pour out the tea. Pour out the tea, and pouring out the tea, it's important that you always pour. So if I'm pouring, I don't want to pour 1, 2, 3 and be done, because this first cup will be really light and this last cup will be really strong. It's important to move back and forth to make them equal. You will see in your journey some people using what's called a fair cup or fairness cup. It's a type of jar, something kind of like this, a pitcher, and pouring the tea to the pitcher, and then pouring the pitcher to the cup so that they're equal. You'll see some people doing that. I don't recommend you do that. I recommend you practice actually pouring yourself to make them equal. There's we could talk more about that in another video, why I recommend that, but for now I'll just leave it at that. I recommend that you pour it yourself to the cups. So we have all these parameters, all these things to take into account, and it's important to say that you can change them. Yeah, you can change the temperature. If we recommend 100-degree water, you might want to lower that water. Or if you have a tea that you don't particularly like how it comes out, well, maybe it's too strong or too bitter for your taste, you can either shorten the brewing times, or you can lower the temperature, or you can put less tea. These are all factors that you should use in your so that you like the tea, because the important thing is that you like it to your taste. So yeah, take other people's brewing parameters with a grain of salt. Use them to begin, and then see if what you like. And make sure you practice bowl tea a lot too, and not always thinking about tea preparation. It's good to it's important to practice tea preparation and get better and improve and gain mastery over it. But it's also important to relax and to just connect with tea and the lessons that it has when you just quiet your mind and sit with it. Okay, so now let's talk about the different tea categories. We'll start with white tea. For your tea pack, I've sent this white tea. It's all buds. This one is from Nepal, from the high mountains of Nepal. And it's basically, when you're brewing white tea, you want to take into account if it's buds or if it's bud and leaf or a lot of leaf. Basically, the buds are going to be always more delicate. The leaves are going to be a little bit more intense. And if that intensity is too strong for you, then you could lower the temperature. With white tea, we usually have the temperature about 85 to 90 degrees. But some of the more oxidized ones you could lower more if you want a lighter brew. You'd be surprised. A heavily oxidized white tea would seem almost like a red tea, or Chinese red tea, what we call black tea here. I'll get into that afterwards. So if that's not to your taste, and you have a white tea and you thought, oh, I thought it was going to be delicate and it's too strong, just lower the temperature of water or shorten the brewing time. That's actually, I probably would say first shorten the brewing time, and later, if you want, lower the temperature. And yeah, quality white teas are definitely meant to brew multiple times, and it's important that you give yourself some time to brew those teas. Green tea, when we talk about green tea, basically green tea category can be divided into Chinese green tea and Japanese green tea. There are obviously other countries, but really there's a big difference between Chinese style and Japanese style, or what's predominant in China and Japan today. In Chinese green tea, there's the pan frying step, is the fixing or kill greens step is done with heat, and in Japan it's done with steam. Now the Japanese steam teas then are much more green, and also the finer ones we use actually a much lower temperature so the temperature of water in Japanese green teas has a big arc, like there's gyokuro teas that you prepare between 40 and 50 Celsius, and kabuse can be about 60 or 65, and sencha is between 70, 75, some 80, and then hochicha, it can be at 85 or 90 degrees. So there's lots of range in green tea, just in Japan. In China, the range is a little bit more narrow, in my taste, between 60 and 80. Some people say if the tea is good, you can put boiling water on it. I agree, you can. Even fine Chinese green tea, you can put boiling water on it. It's just you would shorten the steeping time. It's a matter of experience here. Personally, I think it's nice to play with temperature and steeping time. So the same tea, for example, some Chinese tea like Longjing, or like let's just say Longjing, which is the most famous Chinese green tea. You can brew it at 80 degrees and leave it for like a minute, or you can brew it, for example, let's say at 60 degrees and leave it for 2 minutes and feel the difference. And it's really different. One of them you'll prefer. Not all of you will agree. So for the green tea that I chose for your pack, I chose this sencha, and the brewing method that I want to talk about with it is so all white teas and green teas that we spoke about, in the yellow teas too, we can do in a shibori dashi, like we said, about 3 to 4 grams. The temperature that we've selected, and do multiple steepings like that. But Japanese green tea also benefits from a Kyusu's pot. These pots have a small filters, really small. You see, it's a mesh filter that separates all the small particles. It's not that it's necessary, but you will find that these teapots work nice in getting the tea out quickly and without stopping the spout. If the teapot is artisan made, it will have also nice holes and also won't stop. But that's the point of these teapots with the metal filter. And this tea that I chose actually to talk about another brewing method, which is we talk about temperature and heat in steeping times. But there's another method, just so you know, like, for example, you iced tea. The best iced teas are made with room temperature water and long steeping times. And you could even do what this is for. What I showed you before wasn't actually a fairness cup. This is a filter. You see it has some holes in it. You could put this tea leaf, this tea that I sent you, this Japanese sencha, on a filter. In this case, it's made specifically for this. Put ice cubes onto it, and the ice will go through the tea leaves and land in whatever you put underneath to catch it. And this process can take 1 hour or 2 hours, depending how close it is to the sun or how warm it is. and the result is incredible. So actually, temperature is not even. We say boiling water is important for some teas, but for some other teas, you can't do this with the ice for any tea. But for some teas, like the one I sent you, try this, and it's something really. It's a delicacy. When speaking about green tea, I think it's important now in preparation to speak about matcha and matcha preparation. So matcha has become really, really, really popular. And for matcha, you want a bowl. Traditionally, this is called a chawan. You want a nice tea, which I've sent you also in the tea pack. Preferably organic. That goes for all tea, but I'd say even more so with matcha. And I realize now that I don't have with me, and I'm doing this video all in one take, I don't have with me the chasaku, which is to take out the tea. Basically, with the chasaku, you want to use three small spoons. That's my taste. A beginner might want to put just one, make it light, and matcha is a strong tea. I'm not going to get up and get the chasaku. I'm just going to do it visually because I can. That's actually one important thing. We talk about grams and temperature and volume, but and time. But at first, you might want to use tools. Yeah, a chronometer, a thermometer, and such, and a scale. But with time, you really want to get rid of, like, stop using those tools as crutches and develop your own intuition. And well, I would never choose to do this for the class because it's quite. I would like to be more specific. I'm saying normally we put 3 of the chasaku spoons. In the Spanish video that I uploaded, I did have the chasaku. So if you see the Spanish video, you will see what I'm talking about. And so the idea is to put the tea. There are many ways to brew matcha, including types of brewing matcha. So there's usucha and koicha. Usucha is thin tea, obviously lighter by the name, and koicha is thick tea, which is almost like a paste. I'm gonna brew usucha, which is the idea is to create a froth. In koicha, it's not. It's quite the opposite. No froth. And so what we want to do, we want to preheat the chasen. So this is made out of bamboo. It's all one piece. And we just preheat it. And what I like to do, what I would recommend you do is first put a little bit of water and make a bit of a paste. Usually I start in like this U shape and make a paste. This is important to take out all the, I don't have the word for this in English right now. Those clumps, yeah, the clumps. You don't want clumps in your tea. So when you begin, you make a little bit of a paste with just a little bit of water, and then once it's nicely dissolved, we're going to add the water and continue whisking. We don't have to add the water all in one go. The important thing is to keep whisking. And I'm going to whisk and whisk. And at the end, I'm going to whisk a little bit slower and remove the big bubbles that have formed. And I'm going to remove the chasen, the whisk, from the center of the bowl, of the chawan. So when we're whisking, we're basically doing M's, yeah? Think of it as making M's for matcha. You can't over whisk. You can under whisk. Now I'm going to start slowing down, breaking the bigger bubbles, and pull out from the middle. And here, matcha should look like that, with a nice beautiful froth. Well, great. We spoke about white tea, green tea, yellow tea. Brewing would be similar to Chinese green tea brewing. In fact, yellow tea is quite similar to a Chinese green tea, except that some Chinese green teas you want to brew. You can brew it like low temperature and longer steeping times, and it's really nice. And personally, I find that yellow tea likes the water to be about 80 or even 85. But as I said before, it's all a matter of taste. And don't take any of these. These are suggestions. I want to inspire you with the suggestions and also with the brewing methods. Yeah. So the next category is Oolong Tea. Oolong Tea is a category of tea that was born. Oolong Tea and Kung Fu Tea Brewing were born together. Kung Fu Tea Brewing and Oolong Tea go hand in hand. So while you can brew Oolong Tea any other way, like I did before in the bowl, or you could do it in a shiboridashi, and you could do it in a small teapot, Kung Fu Brewing will bring out the best in it. So what is Kung Fu Brewing? Well, first, let me just take a little sip of this. You're gonna love this matcha. Fabulous. So Kung Fu Brewing involves a very small teapot where we'll use 6 grams. So we use more leaves of tea. 6 grams if we're weighing. If we're not weighing, basically, well, you have to know a little bit more about weight from your own experience, how much to put in the teapot. But there's also a way of looking how much you want to cover the base of the pot. As we talk about this, I think it's something I didn't mention that I think is really important. A lot of people in the beginning of their tea preparation journey read something about putting spoons of tea, like put 1 spoon per person and 1 for the teapot. I've read in many sources. That could be true. That recommendation might be true for the types of teas that used to be drunk under that recommendation, such as those English teas. I mean, British style tea, Assam, Ceylon, in a big teapot. But it's not. It doesn't really work. Like it's about volume. When we talk about weight, we talk about weight because and not volume. So if a spoon is measuring volume, this gaba oolong in 1 spoon, I don't know, I could put maybe 4 grams of tea. This yellow tea, in 1 spoon, I could put about maybe 0.3 or 0.4 grams of tea. So we can't measure in spoons. Yeah, I'm not saying you have to measure with a scale either, but a scale would be fine if to begin to get a feeling of what you're doing, so that you're not thinking in spoons, because you can't generalize spoons. And the important thing is the dry weight. So anyway, in Kung Fu Brewing, we brew about 6 grams, and the steeping times go really short. We're talking about flash steepings, you know, like the water goes in and the water goes out, yeah, or the water goes in, stays for 3 or 4 seconds, and goes out. And the steepings get progressively longer. But in Kung Fu Brewing, you can easily do, 20 steepings of a tea. So that's why I was saying this little teapot. Some people come into the tea house and they think, oh, how cute. Do people really use it? And yeah, not only, it's not a toy. It may look like it, but it's not. It's a fabulous teapot that can serve 5 or 6 people for hours. It's like, so then people, when they do tea ceremony with Kung Fu, they're like, wow, it seems like the never-ending teapot. So this brewing method is wonderful. We'll talk more about it in another video. By the way, if there's more videos that you want me to upload please add in the comment section. We love doing teaching people here in person at Chai Chai Tea House. We can't do that obviously under the current state of affairs in the world. So we're uploading these videos. But yeah, if this is something you want to learn more about, let me know. And if you're in the Barcelona area and can do a private class, I'd be happy to teach you personally. So for Oolong Brewing, I recommend that. The Oolong tea that I included for the Kung Fu Brewing is this roasted Dongding Oolong. Fabulous tea to brew Kung Fu. Now we've spoken about Oolong tea. The next category would be what in China is called Hongcha, red tea, and what in the West is erroneously called black tea. And it's especially bad that it's called erroneously black tea, because in China there's a category of tea that's called black tea, and that's the fermented teas. Here the fermented teas didn't really exist for a long time. Then, I mean, they weren't available. Now they're available, and you might find the fermented teas labeled under Hei Cha, which is the Chinese word for the black tea or the dark tea. And so it's getting translated as dark tea here. But it's good if you realize that the original word for black tea is actually red tea, and don't perpetuate this mistake. So Chinese red tea is also meant to do multiple steepings. You should also choose a small teapot. You can brew it Kung Fu. Western style tea, meaning the tea coming from the English colonies, like Sri Lanka, the Ceylon teas, the Assam, or yeah, especially those. You want to do more in a Western style brewing. It doesn't make sense to do it any other way. And I did send in the pack this tea, which is our English breakfast that we blend here at Chai Chai, and I think it's a great English breakfast. It's great for what it is. Yeah, breakfast tea, and you can make it in a big volume, and that's what it's for. I would just do one steeping. You could try the second steeping just to see the fall off, how big it is, and that's that. But there's another tea that's often put under this black tea category in the West, which is Darjeeling. Darjeeling tea, you cannot use such hot water as other red teas, yeah? So especially the first flush Darjeeling, we like to use 85 to 90 degree water. That, in fact, it's not really a black tea despite being labeled a black tea, in that it's not so oxidized like black tea. Basically, with water temperature from oolongs, usually you'll be using boiling water. The red tea, we're using also boiling water, and the fermented teas we're also using boiling water for the most part. There's some lightly oxidized oolongs that are more towards green tea that we use like 90 degree water, 95. Likewise, some young sheng puers, you might want to lower the temperature a little bit because they're more bitter. I'll talk about that in a second. Sheng puer, I just mentioned it and haven't really introduced the category. So there are some exceptions, but for the most part, we want boiling water. So Kung Fu tea brewing is also a brewing that's meant for boiling water. So in Kung Fu, you want to use oolong tea or red tea or the fermented teas, basically. You could use another tea, but it won't be as easy for you, perhaps, to get it right with such high temperature. So the final category. Well, before that, the last thing I want to say about the Western black tea is we talk about tea preparation. I think it's important to understand that as tea is expanded throughout the world, the tea culture has evolved differently in every place, and there's tea preparation aspects in different countries. And when we talk about black tea, and often Western black teas be added with milk and sugar. It's important to discuss this issue of, it's almost humorous to me, but because I don't like putting milk for the most part in my tea. But when do you put the milk? Do you put it before you pour the tea or after? This is a really important thing, like that you can really offend somebody and their whole family tradition if you do it wrong. because people choose a way and they stick to it. Some people think that that it's better to put the tea first, and to pour the tea first and then add up the milk to get the color that they want. And that's understandable. I say personally I like that because you can actually pour the tea first, you can taste it and decide if you want to, in my opinion, destroy it by putting the milk or the sugar. But I'm just kidding. I know for some people this is a sacred tradition and in their life, and some teas are frankly better with milk than drinking them straight. And then there's other family traditions, other people who insist, no way, you have to put the milk first and then the tea. And so what is it about? And putting the milk first, I want you to understand that has a very interesting origin. And that's so when the British were first bringing tea from China, they were also bringing the porcelain. And porcelain, in fact, in English, as you know, is called china. And they were afraid that their porcelain would break by pouring the hot boiling tea straight into that fine porcelain. So they thought, well, first we put the milk, and that way we soften the temperature change. And it's possible even that, yeah, that hot water in that fine porcelain was going to be breaking them. That I can't attest to. But in any case, they paid a fortune for that porcelain, and they wanted to take care of it. And that's why they insisted you have to put the milk. Now, all this time later, and using any old teaware, they still, think that it's really important that you put the milk first. And it's important to know, where do these things come from? Okay, last tea category is the fermented teas. The fermented teas, there are many. There's Liuan, Liu Bao, Kohishicha. There are many fermented teas. Not too many, yeah, but less variety maybe than of course than oolong or red tea or green tea. But there are quite many. But here in the West, most people know pu'er tea and shou pu'er, the fermented pu'er tea, and liu bao and liuan. All those you really want to use boiling water for them. For most fermented teas, the only exception would be the green sheng pu'er, the young one, which you could also use boiling water, but if that flavor, depending on the mountain, can be quite bitter, strong, astringent. If that's not to your liking, then you could also lower the temperature, or as I said before, lower the steeping time. So this is everything that you have to take into account, and never forget that there are times that you can be paying attention to all this brewing and improving, and there are times well, you should just make it simple and enjoy just sitting down calmly and not worrying about these things, and really just enjoy all the relaxing aspects of just sitting with a nice warm bowl of tea. So, thank you very much for watching, and soon I'll be posting more videos.